All right, awesome. Okay, so the recording will start here. Sorry for that. I'll start again. I just did a YouTube video. We'll do another 1 hour from here. So although I'm late, I tried to do it in 30 minutes. I did it in 40 minutes. So it covered three different things. The first thing we covered was the Celsius reorg from information from the court hearing on Tuesday and the limited documentation where Celsius asked for an extension of the exclusivity deadline. The second thing that I covered was all of the different security tokens and many of the secrets that I've never actually covered on what made the Bitfinex one work, and all of the different design features, so that if we're going to end up using this and it's going to be a part of a recovery, at least we can make sure that we're doing this based upon real experience, rather than just chucking a token out there and hoping that it's going to work. The third one was I gave a very brief overview of the leaked bids. I didn't give enough time for it, so I might cover it in more detail. We can cover more on them right now, but I'm just going off the information that was leaked yesterday by Tiffany Fong. And although I don't want to give more details about our bids, but I can talk about anything that's public. And that was leaked. Okay, so if anyone wants to ask a question, then please put a request up right now. I'll take as many questions or any comments that you've got. A lot happened this week, so I think we're going to get a lot more engagement than last week, given the situation. Okay, so Azad, do you want to bring up the first person?
Yeah, we got I Am Vengeance.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi, Simon. Yeah, thank you very much for doing this for community. I see you're bidding also the Bank to the Future, and it is exactly what you said since the beginning. So I really, looking at it, it feels amazing how consistent you are since the beginning. Okay, so my question is, right now the UCC, they are trying to support the reorg plan, but we have a biddings on in other hand. So my question is, like, if UCC approved the extension till the June, right? So and then June we'll realize, okay, so this reorg may not work, maybe bidding would work. So if we realize in that point, do we have an option to select the bidding, any bidding that we have in June 2023, or we just have to go with the reorg no matter what?
I do have to say, if anyone knows the answer to this, I loved it when Thomas Brazil used to be doing this, but I think everyone kind of just scared him out of the industry by calling him a conspiracy or creating conspiracy theories. But he would be the perfect person to answer that question as a bankruptcy expert. I will try and find out for you from him or someone else what happens if. So I think the scenario we're talking about is they approve the extension, and then the bid doesn't get the reorg, sorry, doesn't get voted upon. Then what? Does it automatically move to liquidation? Do we get another opportunity to tweak the bid? Or do we end up in a situation where you could return to the bids? Well, what do we know? We know what happened in Voyager. So that didn't get through the voting process. And FTX obviously blew up halfway through the process. And then the UCC immediately went into those that were involved in the bid and negotiated a deal with Binance and others, and then just decided that to accept Binance. So remember, the decision maker here is not the UCC. The UCC's job is to push back, but the decider here is Celsius. This is the problem. From my perspective, Celsius has become I'm not sure that they're acting in well, they never have had the job of acting in our interest. That's the UCC's job. But Celsius are the ones that control this process. And if the UCC, I'm talking about the ordinary members pushing pressure on the advisors that we're paying, I think there has to be a really good reason why they're going to extend exclusivity, and why they're not pushing back against those those bids, because they would have had they would have had sight on those bids. And from what I can see, they allowed Kirkland and Ellis to lie in court to the judge, saying that there was no bids that would allow them to get access to the illiquid assets. And I know for a fact that there was at least one. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what happens at the end of that process, but I think we should all find out. And I think we should ask the UCC, and I'm hoping they're going to do a town hall. I'll also ask them. Again, no matter what is happening in this process, I'll still continue to do whatever I think is best by creditors. So if it means that we've got to work with Celsius to get the best result, because that's the only result, because I'm not a bankruptcy strategist. This is my first Chapter 11. I'm a finance guy, and I like the challenge of trying to get a recovery for creditors. I was forced into the bidding process, didn't want to be there. I tried to give Celsius originally a reorg, as we said, and now I've been working with the UCC and introducing whoever I can in Celsius and keeping everyone accountable by calling out all the BS that I'm seeing. So, that's what I'm doing, and I'll continue to do that until this process is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's bring up Vaquero.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Simon, I mean, the work you've done with the recovery plan is amazing, and I watch every single one of your videos when you work out. You're truly inspirational. My hat's off to you. And then I'd also want to ask you if there's something that we can come up with, a brand new investment product. I really believe in your brand, and I know that you want to help out the entire community, and I'd love to be part of it. So if there's something that community members can do to achieve something with our individual skill sets, I'd love to be a part of it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Make sure you're registered on the website, because we'll be, getting back to business, as it were. We're not going to be putting new pitches live on Bank to the Future for a while until everything's all blown over. But we've been working on what we will be giving and delivering to our investors in 2023, and we really look forward to bringing more opportunities for people to build and protect their wealth using this life-changing technology called Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you, Vaquero. Let's bring on Eric.
Hey, Simon. Hey, Azad. Simon, I guess a couple questions. I was a little sort of looking for let down that Abra wasn't one of the leaked documents that Tiffany shared, and I'm not sure if there's more than those 5. Do you have any insight? Series of questions, by the way. Any insight as to why Abra wasn't or did not bid? A, and then B, were you disappointed in that there were only, and I know that obviously you're one of them, but that there were only 5 bidders? Apparently 5 bidders for Celsius. I would have assumed there would have been at least a dozen or so, including some from even TradFi, and I didn't see any of that on the list. So was that alarming to you that there wasn't more than just the 5 that we saw?
It wasn't alarming to me because I was prepped for it, because I knew that. The reason I know that is because if you remember, rewind right back to this beginning process, I was trying to put together a bailout syndicate where we put together up to $6 billion of liquidity if there was a decent investment opportunity. And many of those people or many of those organizations would have been people that they dropped out one by one because they realized that they could get predatory assets instead, because it didn't make any sense to bail out a company. We couldn't come up with a structure because Celsius were not cooperating in the original plan that I gave them. And if they would have cooperated with that, then they were interested because we did so well for them with the Bitfinex deal that they were willing to bet again. But then one by one, they dropped out when everything came out in Chapter 11. And then they realized that they could do predatory bids. But then everything changed when FTX, everyone went on the defense mode. And so Abra, I am a shareholder in Abra. In the Chapter 11 of Genesis, there was exposure there. And I think everyone's on defense mode. So while Abra I'm sure is more than happy to work on some of the reorg plans that the loans groups and the ad hoc groups have been essentially doing Celsius's job, putting together all the reorg plans for loans and finding all the people. They're not going to come and buy. And the bidding process is one goddamn thing. It's a Chapter 11 scam to just make sure that you pay enough money to pay for the lawyers so that they can set up their exit funds and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
They do not care about the innovation. They only care who's going to pay our bills. Because look at Voyager, they wanted 60 million in a fund, in a litigation trust. They want, it's just a game for the professionals to rinse and bleed creditors dry. They just want more cash. That's all they care about. And my conundrum was, firstly, I wouldn't ever ask anyone. So we were gonna do a funding round at Bank to the Future when we were in full-blown mode of growth mode. And obviously we as a company get cautious when the market's like this. You have to be cautious. We're a very stable company. We've never taken on debt or anything. The acquisition that we tried to do with Salt didn't work out. And so, we got more defensive. We're not going to pay cash because I will never ask anyone to invest in anything that I would not invest in myself. And all this cash does is that it greases the pockets of the professionals that are just rinsing the process. And so that's why you see those bids like that.
I'll add a few things and then I'll jump, and I do appreciate the time. I actually spoke to an organization, and it wasn't Abra, it was another larger company, and very capable, had the balance sheet to buy Celsius, to acquire Celsius, and they told me that they basically, they thought it was such a shit show at Celsius. They didn't believe anything that the Celsius management was doing. They felt like assets were being hidden, especially Alex's assets and others that were let go or left, and they just didn't even want to deal with it because to them it was just such a shit show. So I'm assuming that that's probably why some other credible companies probably backed out also. They saw this. In fact, they told me that. They said other companies are looking too, and they saw the same thing that they saw, and they were like, we don't want anything to do with it. Which is why I think, looking at what was leaked the other day, that I'm still very much in favor of your plan. I obviously completely disagree with you and have disagreed with you in your custody position, and I hope that you do change it, especially if your plan is the one that they go with.
My custody position is whatever the courts do.
Right.
That will be litigated. That's not going to be a reorg's decision. That's going to be the court's decision.
Okay.
I don't think it's worth any of us quibbling over that at all.
Yeah.
It's going to be done in court. You represent your interest. You got to do what you need to do. You want to maximize. Leave it to the court process. But we're all on the same team.
Yeah, sounds great. By the way, there could be an alternative to Salt. There's a company called Milo Credit. They offer the first back crypto mortgage. They're the first crypto-backed mortgage company in the world that does 30-year crypto-backed mortgages for property owners. And they just announced a loan product without rehypothecation. So literally yesterday at the Quantum Conference in Miami. So I'd recommend you check out Milo. Maybe there's something that you can work with them as it relates to the loan side of the business. But that's all. And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my beef is that we're paying for an investment bank to do all this work. We're literally paying every month 2 investment banks, the UCC's investment bank and Celsius's investment bank. And I'm not paying. I'm paying our lawyers. I'm getting negative payment here to do that work. Like, what kind of world is this Chapter 11 process? And it's like they just want you to pay millions in order to just engage in trying to do something to help creditors. Like, I've never experienced anything like this in our life. I can't wait to just be on the other side as all of you are. Like, it's just insane.
Men lie, women lie, lawyers win. Anyways, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Harry.
Okay, we got quite a few speakers on here, so let's bring.
I also want to say one of the other things around the reason I didn't want to put in a lowball cash bid is because I made a commitment to the community. Now, ironically, probably if I just paid enough to pay the professionals, I could have just given everyone's assets and stuff like that. But the conspiracy theories and people that were just using that as a mechanism for making out like I'm some kind of predator or something like that, probably it's just a commitment I had to make, and my word is important to me. So as people know, I've tried to be consistent throughout the whole thing. I change as things happen. Cool. Let's take the next question.
Let's bring on Stephen Ivan.
Okay, can you hear me?
Can
I? Okay. Just two quick things. Simon, thank you. Azad, thank you. During this whole process, you've been like a light at the end of the tunnel for many of us. And I am so frustrated. I can't even imagine how frustrated you must feel at times. Before Tiffany's leaked news came out, I guess yesterday, and the Celsius reorg program got put out there, I think I tweeted something like, oh, this is awesome. So 7 months into Chapter 11, and we are giving them an extension for them to adopt a program that Simon Dixon suggested 7 months ago. How in the world is this possible? So I said something like that, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm kind of new to all of Chapter 11, and like you, just having my mind blown. But my question is, and you mentioned maybe UCC could have a town hall. Can't we force, I mean, the creditors in the numbers that are for your program that's been handed in as a bid, force the UCC, or not force, encourage, suggest, whatever word you want to say, we can't force anything, but say on behalf of all the creditors that are aligned with this bid to get our coins back now in equity in some future company, is there anything that a creditor, one creditor, 10 creditors, 10,000 creditors that we can do to make our voices heard in any way? Thank you.
Yeah. So first thing on the first comment, it's not, even though it's very similar to the plan I originally proposed, it's actually a bit crazy because they've taken out all the business. So if you get a chance to watch what made the Bitfinex token work, it was based upon a profitable business. And without the profitable business, this would have been bloody Luna 2.0 or something ridiculous, or Ethereum Classic or something. So it's the, you can't just take the surface elements. You have to really design it correctly, and you have to have a profitable business in order to make that work. Otherwise, you end up with the other use cases. So make sure you do that. In terms of, look, I've got to be honest. I will keep playing the Chapter 11 process, but I also this process is not good for my health. The US Chapter 11 process is bigger than me. I will play whatever the next step of the process is. If we're told, and I will push back against everything that needs to be pushed back. I've got my silly 100,000 YouTube subscribers and my 100,000 followers on Twitter. Sorry, not silly at all. I appreciate you all. But that's what I've got. That's who I am. We have a company that's trying to do what's right for creditors. And I'm more than happy for another ginormous company or a Binance. We spoke to CZ throughout the whole process to ensure he was in the process, and Binance was in. I want to go for whatever the best approach is, but I got to be honest. I do not think that this system is designed other than do anything than maximize the result for Celsius and just get a little bit of pushback, because whatever Celsius asks for, they seem to get. And they'll ask. We were told the 15th of February is the deadline.
Yes.
Now the 15th of February is not the deadline, apparently. Now we could all predict it. Tony's here. He told us none of those are the deadlines, by the way. So he called it all. But this process is, look, I can only involve myself in things that I can control. And I've learned that, you know, there's parts I can't control. There's other parts where I can add value, and I'm just going to add value wherever I can. And so if it turns out that I even need to work with Celsius to try and make sure that they design the best recovery, I'll do that, because that's what whatever we need to do. If it turns out the CUCC, but I cannot be involved in processes that I have zero control for, because the US Chapter 11 process is one big ass beast, and it's messy, and I don't like it at all.
Well, thank you for sharing all that. And we just for your house, your overall house, you know, take good care of yourself. We like your workout videos. I know for many of us, we need to get out there and Mother Nature and could be on another channel, but you do offer us a lot of encouragement, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've got, let's bring on Brengu, or Brengana, sorry. Brengana, can you hear us? Okay, let's move on to Natty.
Yes, good evening, everyone, fellow creditors. So,
Hey, Natty, I saw you hijacking the Voyager town hall.
Yes. This is a time killing. We're learning along the way.
You stole Voyager Creditors' like precious time to discuss, like, figure out what's going to happen with Celsius. You evil guy.
We have to plan for what's in front of us. Definitely,
oh, it was painful to listen to the Voyager one. It was seriously, it was breaking my heart, man.
There is a two confirmed plan, and that in the refer of the question of the previous guy, what happened if Celsius get its way? They get the extension, they get a confirmed plan, and then we have a vote. Imagine the creditor vote against the plan. What happens next? The UCC can take over for litigation trust, or in the end, this is the UST, whatever. Wanted to say first, the SOBA presentation we had from Celsius, they said in return there was 30 qualified bidder. So this leak from Tiffany Fong, shout out to her, only disclosed 5 bidder. So there was more. Second point, yes, you keep your reputation. You did not do a predatory bidding. Third point, the mining operation, I remind everyone that there is 6 million plus debt, which is creditor debt on this business. So this is the first investment. And so far, it's a total 84 million cumulative loss. And another point from your demand on reporting all your experience for the security token recovery. Thank you very much for that. The key point from your presentation is that to make it happen, the business must be profitable. So whether this is the creditor who believe in the security debt token, or there is investor who invest in it, knowing that the company pursue its activity profitably. And so this is the key point you exposed in your video. So this is very important for everybody to understand. If ever this plan from Celsius reorg, personally, I don't want it, comes to vote. Is the business profitable? Staking with creditor funds, mining not profitable. What else? Earn. They want to get rid of the convenience class, which is said as per your reporting of the hearing, minus 5,000 euro, 5,000 US dollar, which represent in this creditor class like 70% of the creditors. But this is not the majority of the value of the estate. The majority, we are crunching the sofa again with Keith, shout out to him. The majority of the estate, so which will represent 2/3 of the estate, creditor estate, reside in the top creditor category. Okay, there will be a breakdown done for that. And so what from the Voyager call, I had that. So they are on the vote of a confirmed plan. We are not there yet. And there is two conditions. When we will get to vote, it will happen through Streeto. We will receive a mail directly from Streeto, and it will be two conditions: 50% of account holders and 2/3 of the value. And this is an end condition. So if whether one of the conditions is not met, the vote cannot be approved by the judge in the end. That's it. I thank you again. And personally, I'm fighting against the extension. Monday, we have the examiner report. Hopefully, the UCC does its job. And on Tuesday, we have a town hall. And we will see what happens. Let's not to anticipate more. Let's see at its tape, and that's it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot for all those updates. And I just want to say that, oh, you might want to mute yourself. I just want to say that, you know, the top creditors are all in a group. And so, you know, if this doesn't make sense to us, we're not going to vote for it. So we're not completely powerless. The bit that drives me insane is that the people making the decisions benefit from the longer this goes on for. And the judge has always, I hope, always tried to push back to make things go faster. But to me, this whole Chapter 11 system is like, it's systemic. It's like it's like the dollar Ponzi scheme. This whole system is so systemic, entrenched, and systemically corrupt, I feel. And by corrupt, I just mean legally doing everything that you're allowed to do by the book, but just crony capitalists taking advantage of that. It feels to me like being invested in a Chapter 11 company like Celsius. It feels to me like, you know, a government organization that can just have government-like control over you while they spend your money. You know, and yeah, it's just, I can't wait for us all to get out the other side of this. And my commitment to all of you is just to try and do everything that we can within our power to put together the best recovery that's possible. But even if that doesn't work out the way we want it to work out, just ensure that we're focusing on ourselves as well, because yeah, it's a crazy ass process. Okay, who's next, Azad?
Let's bring on Tony.
Hey Tony, what do you think of the reorg?
We're gonna change the name to the unorg instead of the reorg, because all it's just taking an organization, stripping it of all of its parts, and giving the UCC attorneys the right to claw everybody back. That's basically how I read this this plan, pretty much. I was actually, someone reached out to me earlier asking me if Simon is on the take. So I just want to say it out here in front of everyone. Simon has the UCC try to get you to support their plan, to get you to convince everyone else to support their plan.
But absolutely not. I mean, I don't need, there's no amount of money that would make me do anything like that. You know, I don't need that. I just want what's right. So I'm playing the role of working with all the parties, adding value where I can, but also calling out shit when I see shit. And that's a role that I'm trying to play here. And you know, no one can get away with BS, because I just won't. I won't have it. But no, the UCC, I've been supporting them where I can, but I want them to do what they said that they're going to do on the 15th of February. And I want them to know that if they don't do it, there is going to be, you know, mobs, Twitter mobs in Twitter court.
So that's the second thing I want to talk about. First part, I just wanted you to say it just so everyone else can, you know, at least think for themselves. Don't just listen to someone tell you something is great or tell you it sucks. do a little bit of research on your own. Now that Tiffany has leaked the other plans, there is no reason to extend this exclusivity. So one of the reasons that they sold us on extending it last time is that if you don't extend it, any type of predatory bid can be submitted to the court, and then as long as it meets certain, bankruptcy guidelines, the judge can approve it, and then it can go to a vote. And if enough people vote for it, even if it sucks or even if it's not the best plan, it'll get passed. So now that we've seen the other plans, now that we've seen at least the bones of whatever Celsius is planning, whatever the UCC is planning, why not just end the exclusivity, let the other bidders, I guess, if they're still interested, if Binance is still interested, if Simon's still interested, if Novogratz, even though he had a shitty plan, the worst plan I've ever seen, if he's still interested, he can submit his plan. Let all the plans get submitted and let the creditors have options. We've seen the options. Some of them are horrible. The one that they announced is basically just a shell company with everything gone. That doesn't sound like a good plan, but let people decide. Let us have 1, 2, 3, however many options there are, and then let the creditors use their vote and pick the one that we think is best for us. What I think is the best plan for me might be a different plan for someone else. Let everyone decide for themselves, and if the majority wants one thing, that's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree, Tony. I mean, how much better do we all feel already just knowing what, the bidders were doing, what Celsius is planning, and what the UCC have said they're going to do? I mean, just even if it's shit information, like bad information or bad news, like information is the currency here. We just need to know who's doing what, so we can plan accordingly. And just the fact that Celsius was able to tell what, from my interpretation, I don't know, maybe I'm going to receive a legal letter from Kirkland Ellis after this, but was able to just lie to the judge's face and say that the bids didn't maximize the illiquid assets. And I had to sit there biting my tongue because of certain contractual obligations. And if it wasn't for Tiffany Fong, they would have got away with that. And this is what's the new buzz phrase? Citizen journalism. But that's what this has become. Like we got to hold. This is a process. We're representing creditors here. We're not trying to reorganize Celsius. We're using either the UCC, the bidders, or Celsius in order to maximize the fact that these services were completely misrepresented and people have lost money as a result of it. That's what this process is. And yeah, so let everyone decide what's right for them, and the voting process can work. But hiding information and extending deadlines, and that's the game I don't like playing. I guess I got to play them. I'm pretty shit at playing those games. I'm just an open book, trying to bring value to the process wherever I can. Okay, thank you. So, who's next?
Okay, let's bring up Justo. Justo, can you hear us? You're next, Justo. Okay, Bill. Bill's been waiting a bit.
Okay, great.
Can you hear us, Bill?
Great, can you hear me there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi, Simon, and thanks, guys. This is not related to Celsius, although I'm actually a Celsius creditor with a very small amount. But I hope you don't mind a very short moment entertaining what I have to say regarding the vol DeFi payments issue in Singapore. Is that okay, gentlemen?
If it's entertaining, yeah, you got to live up to that.
Okay, very good, Simon. And thanks for being a leader out there in knowledge in what's going on. So I lead a group of creditors of Singapore-based Vault DeFi payments who have been waiting for over 6 months for Vault and their financial advisor, Kroll, to propose a doable restructuring scheme. At first, the company is going to get acquired by Nexo. That doesn't seem to be working out. They're now working on a fund manager option, which no one really approves. And so we have over $400+ million in claims across 150,000 customers worldwide. There's been many problems as documented in a very detailed report I issued a couple weeks ago, published at vaultcreditors.net. including lies, misrepresentations, concealment, and more. We think there's fraud going on, but anyway, we're getting organized with a group of creditors to take action and forming the Vault Creditors Alliance. So my question is, do you know perchance anything that's going on with that deal? Have you been approached by either that company or any other creditors? Would you be willing to speak with us on possibly working with us on a plan? You know, per your presentation, I understand that some of the solutions that you've been through do not work with insolvent and unprofitable companies, and that's what we're dealing with here. So that's why we're not sure what the next step is, if we're looking at a company managed wind down with new management leading the charge, or a judicial managed winding up through the Singapore courts, or if there's some other viable option. So we're looking for, you know, a knowledgeable advisor, you know, to help us through this next stage. We've got over 200, we just launched, we haven't officially announced the alliance that's happening hopefully next week, but behind the scenes, we've gathered over 260 names, accounting for over $36 million in assets under management, with tacit commitments from a number of other parties that are very interested in our approach in taking over the process. So we just need to partner with a capable person and or company to help us through this. And so my questions are there, Simon, if you know anything about this, what's going on, if you've been approached by that company, and or whether or not you'd be interested in working with us on a restructure plan.
Yeah, so firstly, me personally, I can't handle more than what I got on and Celsius, and keeping up to date with all the others and what we can learn from it. But as I'm happy to learn from the process, add value, and bring my opinions where they are. So the only thing last time I spoke to Nexo, you know, when I know that they were involved in the deal, but I haven't spoken to them since. They've had their SEC issues and various other issues. So sorry, yeah, not intimately involved. My understanding is that they did try to do like a Bitfinex style thing, and Nexo tried to like take on all their loan book and stuff like that. That's as far as it goes to me, just the headlines. Okay, well, thanks for sharing us.
Okay.
And if anyone else is involved in that one, just reach out to on all those resources you shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring on Plan C.
Hey guys, I just wanted to quickly thank you, again for another good conversation here and supporting the community. Also, on either Monday or Tuesday, I mean, it depends when the examiner report is released. It's going to take a while. It's going to be a pretty long report, I think. So it might take a while for Simon and some other people like Cam in the community to go through it. But I would like to host a space to kind of discuss the examiner report either on Monday or Tuesday. So I guess just stay tuned for that. And we can also discuss as a community. I'm not sure when the UCC is going to do their town hall. Maybe it'll be around a similar time. But I think it'd be great to kind of get everyone's opinions on kind of where we're at. Just with all the options on the table now, we know, now knowing a lot more as far as the bids. I know, Simon, you can't really discuss the bids still, but I mean, other people on stage can discuss the bids. We can discuss the examiner report. So yeah, there'll probably be a pretty lengthy spaces call either Monday or Tuesday. So I guess just stay tuned for that, anyone listening. That's about all I wanted to say.
Cool. Yeah, I forgot the examiner report's going to be coming out on Monday. They confirmed that in the court that the examiner said that they're all on track for that. So maybe that's the deadline they're going to meet. They did one extension. That actually feels like a deadline that's going to happen. So yeah, that would be very interesting. Jesus. So next week is examiner report week. I'm sure that's going to create lots of drama.
Yeah, well, it's just going to be a lot to talk about because I think at that point, like everything will be on the table as far as, people will be kind of aware of the events that led to the situation, and now we know all the bids. We kind of have a somewhat of a preview into, a potential plan from the debtor or the UCC. So I think after like 7-8 months here or whatever, there'll be everything's kind of on the table. We don't know the exact details of the UCC or the debtor plan specifically, but we can discuss quite a bit, I think. So yeah, if people are interested, I think we'll probably do a call. wait and see also when the UCC wants to do their town hall, because I think they'll probably do a pretty lengthy town hall soon as well. So yeah, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there'll be a couple of calls worth attending, and there'll be lots to talk about. So yeah.
Alrighty, okay, that's good to hear. Plan C, did you have an opinion on whether, like, I read and listened to the court, as in, well, I haven't returned back. Actually, the judge said that they were going to release the transcribe of the court hearing on Tuesday. Haven't seen that in the docket yet, but that would be interesting, because he did reveal a bit more that was in the extension deadline. But has anyone got an opinion on whether this is just simply like a shell company to sell everything at the right moment, or whether they're actually planning, like, to literally have our coins and play VC with them, but
Yeah,
hire someone professional to do it?
so this is a very interesting thing, because I have no clue, but it's really interesting to see certain factions of the community have very strong opinions one way or the other. So Anthony is somebody that's been kind of claiming he has inside information. He's been talking, somehow he knows, he's the guy that seems to know what's going on. So he's been claiming, and there was a space done with those guys to do with what sounded like, almost like a hedge fund, like a creditor-owned crypto hedge fund. Like, I just don't see at this point,
sorry, just get this straight.
No, it's fine.
The plan there is to
like donate our crypto to Celsius.
Zero.
Yeah, just like all these people that are like Bitcoin OGs, like huge amounts of Bitcoin and Ethereum, because at the end of the day, the majority of the crypto and the voting power is held by, the high net worth individuals, and it's held by people that hold ETH, Bitcoin stables. I mean, those are the main assets on the Celsius app. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stables are people that have been holding those assets for a long time, that are very high net worth individuals. Are they just going to give up those cryptos and then just take equity in like this crypto hedge fund, or somehow crypto management fund, like another, what's it called? What's the company with Barry Silver? Is it Barry Silver? Who's the guy? Yeah, basically they're saying it's going to be another digital currency group, and they're talking about how, they're going to go they're going to go manage and buy like 15 different crypto companies. It's going to be exposure to the whole industry.
Digital currency
I've never
seen is a company for getting returns on dollars, not taking Bitcoin and trying to outperform Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's like, are you really think you're going to convince people to give up their Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stables to speculate on various aspects of the crypto industry after they've been through all this? They just want their crypto back. Like, it's just not going to it's not going to pass a vote. I don't, like, these ideas are just never going to pass a vote. So I don't know. I don't know what this management company or what this idea moving forward is. I mean, I'm starting to suspect more and more that it's just going to be a litigation trust. They're just going to try and do retail clawbacks. They're going to basically just litigate. It's just going to be literally they're going to use some of our assets to just litigate for years and try to pull money back in, and just cause more financial destruction, and then basically, pay more lawyer fees, right? And then basically just slowly pay out, small amounts of money through this token. Like, that's kind of what it's looking like. But we'll wait and see what they say. I don't want to, we got to give them the benefit of the doubt to a degree. We don't know 100%, but to think that, like, yeah, that's just my thoughts. Anyways, I don't want to hog the mic here, but
Okay.
it's confusing. It's confusing.
They want to create Bank to the Future, essentially. That was the original idea. We're already a shareholder in over 100 companies in the industry, and we were going to give our equity to the fund.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Let's not judge it. But what I
don't want to judge it too much. It's just, it sounds a little crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, let's not judge it. But I do want to say, a product like that is, to exchange somebody's, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the people that were misrepresented, that were told, take your retirement plan, take all your money out of a bank, mortgage your house, and put everything here because it's safer than a bank, and you can generate a yield that you can't get in TradFi. For those people to be forced into essentially entering another high-risk hedge fund with what they have left, that they're betting on outperforming Bitcoin and ETH and using staking that we could just stake ourselves. I do not. I hope we're not in a scenario where like the top people are dragging people into that. If they set up this game, then I just see that as a bad actor that is trying to drag this out and get it to the point where a plan that they know isn't going to succeed gets to the end of this process. We have to be very aware of these things. This is why I think from here, the most important thing is that everybody sticks to their deadlines and we hold them accountable to those deadlines. I don't think we can continue to have this moving target with moving goalposts, because my fear is that if the end of this, that Celsius is a bad actor and their just plan is to try and force a bunch of retail that were misrepresented out of their life savings into a high-risk hedge fund rather than give them back their Bitcoin and force them to vote so that they can opt out of all the things that Kirkland Ellis want opting out of. Like, we need to get there sooner rather than later. We can't be in that process for the rest of the year because they're playing the game better than us and they know the game theory better than us. We've got to be very vigilant and aware of these things. This is why, to me, I'll engage with whatever games everyone wants to play, and I'll add value wherever I can add value. But moving deadlines, that's I think the pill we shouldn't swallow. And so we should do what we need to not move deadlines.
100%. And I could see a scenario, I'm just speculating, but I could see a scenario where there's an option, right? So you can either take your crypto and leave and you just take the full haircut, or you can stay. And I mean, in that scenario, I could see like 10% or less of people staying on that want to take on the risk. As long as people aren't forced to stay and there's people, people can just get out with their crypto, at least that. So that's probably what will happen. I mean, just again, speculation, my guess, but there's just no way you can force people to take on risk that came into this just thinking it was safer than a bank. So most likely people will have the option.
Also, if it's a tokenized fund, that has to get SEC approval, unless I'm not aware of anything in the bankruptcy code that allows you to circumvent that requirement to get the offering approved. I know you can issue equity to non-accredited investors where it would either be accredited before, but I'm not aware, and maybe a bankruptcy expert. I'm done with spending more money on lawyers. They've been rinsing me dry too. But if Exodus, they needed 9 months to get the SEC to approve their offering. Maybe there's a faster process, but I'm not aware of anything in the bankruptcy code that just because you're working with a sponsor, think of all these high-grade institutional Van Eycks, Fidelities. They've been trying to get their ETFs approved for freaking years. Since 2013, they've been trying to get those things approved. Now, it's not an ETF, and some of them have been approved, but the SEC still needs to approve them. If they think that this process kind of, maybe there's a way of shortening that time because the SEC is so engaged in this, but come on, man. How dumb do they think we are?
Yeah, I think we'll find out next week. I think there'll be a town hall next week, and there'll be a lot more. Now that the bids are kind of out there, we'll have a town hall. There'll be a lot more. I think it's mostly that we're just in the dark and everyone's speculating, and that's naturally what people do. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. But something's kind of not adding up as of now, but maybe it will next week. So anyways, I'll let some other people talk. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Clancy.
Okay, so you're good for 5 minutes, or?
I keep going. The conversation's pretty good. Let me check what time. Let me just check what time we've got dinner. Okay, bring someone else up. I'll just check.
All right, let's bring on John.
Hey guys, as usual, thank you so much for hosting this. Just a few things. I love how tempered everybody's been so far. I'm much more emotional. I feel much more pissed than a lot of people who've been up here speaking. But I do think that when Tony came up, he made a good point about ending exclusivity. I think that would be beneficial and helpful. And Simon, to answer your question, to the best of my knowledge, I do believe that any sort of fund or trust that Celsius was to propose would need approval from regulators. So my big concern is that they drag this on for months and months and months and months and months. They continue to spend creditor dollars on this, and then at the last minute, that proposal gets rejected. It does not get the approval needed by the United States government, and we go into liquidation. Um, I'm upset because I think two things are happening. And this is just my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right. This could be confirmation bias. It could be, my own subjective emotions getting the best of me. But I think we've been played greatly by both Kirkland and the UCC. I do think there's an element of U.S. bankruptcy, which is extremely debtor friendly. But I also think that we've been kept in the dark. I think that there has I think that we have creditors have not been given the full truth, so to speak, and that concerns me. I also think that the UCC attorneys from White and Case and attorneys from Kirkland and Ellis are more in bed with one another than we would like to think, and that's what really concerns me. And last but not least, I do believe that, and I could be wrong, but I do believe that part of Kirkland's strategy is to mitigate any sort of risk that current and former Celsius executives may face in both a civil and criminal suit that could be part of future happenings or proceedings. That's all.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm going to continue thinking the cup is half full and try not to be as dumb and stupid as I can. That's the only thing that gets me through this. But I think we do need to keep the skepticism and accountability, and recognize that there are things we can influence and control, and there are some things we can't. So let's try and get that balance right. But thank you for sharing that perspective.
Simon,
So let's bring on Boris.
all right, guys. I've been waiting for my turn for a very long time. So, question directly to Simon. Simon, I know that you're not an attorney. Nevertheless, when is enough is enough? I'm talking about extending. According to my understanding, February 15 was supposed to be the cutoff date when there's no more extending. Is there some way we can basically protect ourselves from these endless extensions? Then thieves like Alex Mashinsky, all this bunch of people who think that they're smarter than you, me, and other creditors are going to play us. This is the first question.
Yeah, well, I think people need to file motions to object to the exclusivity extension. It's not my game. My game is that I know where I add value and I know where I don't add value. But I don't think that deadline should be extended, and I think we should do all we can within our power to ensure that the UCC do what they said they're going to do.
No.
And we've got members of the UCC on this call today, and they are creditors just like us. Sometimes we use the blanket term UCC, but the UCC are a bunch of creditors just like us, that are being advised by those advisors, and they need to apply pressure to the advisors.
Well, I didn't catch exactly the...
Well, they just need to be a bit more transparent than usual. Come on, man. I've never been discussing strategies on Twitter Spaces every week, like I have since been involved in Celsius. But we're in a new world right now, and that world is that that you need to be way more transparent, because if you don't, you just get a leak. And there's people that work at Celsius that are obviously just as pissed off as we are and disgruntled that what's happening, and they're leaking these documents because they see the injustice too.
Okay, so let me ask you a second question here. Okay, my second question, and again, you know, it's not just speculations. You have done pretty good job with Bitfinex. So, you know, I like the walk the talk, not just the talk. So I'm going to ask you this question because, you know, I remember you sharing with all of us picture when you're sitting with your wife and drinking or eating some ice cream. And, you know, I don't have this type of luxury to enjoy going out right now because most of my money, including my Bitcoins and Ethereum, are sitting in the possession of Celsius. You know, I learned through this kind of adventure, so to call, that you can never make money with everybody. You can only make money alone when you pull out some pretty good plan. Nevertheless, Mashinsky sitting with his family, enjoying his time, and using our money to protect himself. Okay? We are waiting for a miracle. So they are stealing your idea that you proposed 9 months ago before this freaking charade even started. So if this is justice in the United States, we got no shot. That's all what I'm going to say. We got no shot in this. They will prolong as long as they want until somebody is just going to lose the patience and just do something. We all know what is going to happen. That's it.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your passion, and I can't imagine what it's like because I'm not in your situation. I am in a different situation, and I remember what it is like when, you know, I am in a I didn't have access to financial resources, and I can only imagine what it would have been like if my savings were locked up in Celsius at that time. And all I can say is the more you tell me, the more it inspires me to try and do whatever I can. But I am just a cog, and I think an influential cog with a voice, with a lot of experience, that's willing to channel that energy in whichever direction is right. But this process is bigger than me.
Simon, do you
Yeah.
remember? Do you remember when this thief and this clown who play with all of us, I'm talking about Alex Mashinsky. I came from the country that basically neighborhood with the country he came from originally. And you know what the mentality of people from the country I came from? You never trust anyone. Never. Okay? This is the mentality that we inherited from the country we were born, coming in the United States. Okay? I cannot forgive myself. How could I trust this person? Okay? Now,
Yeah.
when this person stole all our money, he obviously put them into cold storage, you know, ledger not OS, whatever, okay? And we all know that he's not gonna share with us. This BTC, this Ethereums will belong to his children and his wife. By the way, you remember when when Alex Mashinsky called you fuck you? Do you remember that? That's to show the face of this person, who he is in reality. I don't know if people around realized how bad this whole situation is. But my Twitter account was turned off. I couldn't do shit, excuse me my language. So I begged them to give me access back, promising that I never call this guy the word that I want to call him. And now I'm almost crying because, you know, I'm almost ready to take my Glock and go and finish this fucker. Excuse me my language, okay?
All right. What I can try and say is, firstly, you know, I can see that you needed a platform to vent your frustration. We're all frustrated, and this is just my perspective
There's
and
so
my
many
opinion.
people,
My
smart people
yeah,
like yourself. You trusted this guy with millions of dollars. I look at these people. I can't believe it. So many people are gonna just take this haircut. I'm not willing to take a haircut.
yeah. So what I can try and share is my perspective, my opinion is, in life, whenever you take risks, you're going to get scammed. There's no reason to justify and not fight against what's happened. But what I think is a crying shame, and I know in Bitcoin we created a community of trustlessness, which is going to change the financial world. And the fact that we now have money that requires no trust. But what I think is a crying shame is people that have a destructive relationship and then take that experience into another relationship with another human being. And personally, I believe that if at the end of this you become wiser, but you live with the belief that you never trust anybody, then I think it's made you a worse human being, because unfortunately, trust is like a fundamental part of what we need in the world. And I know we're building a trustless currency, which is awesome. But if Alex Majinski makes you a worse person than he was,
He's not making me a worse person. He just shut down. He just shut down the last door that I ever had in my city.
It's not the last door. That's what you can't believe. It's definitely not the last door.
Well, but
wherever you are in your life right now, that is not the last
okay.
door.
Well, let me tell you. You know, I normally trying to be surrounded by people who achieve something. People like yourself, who walk the talk, okay? Who actually did it, took some risk, and accomplished something in my life. But I just can't believe that you can take all this money from people, lie to them, hide 63,000 Bitcoins. They mining 9 Bitcoins per day. Who gives a shit about that? Excuse me. 63,000 Bitcoins. Guys, just think about this. How many years?
Yeah.
How many years? This Ferrara clown number 2, I'm going to tell you what it's done in Russia in this situation, okay? In Russia, we don't have these courts. We just have simple procedure. When somebody just comes to you 2 o'clock in the morning and you give...
I know this is going. I'd rather not on this call. I really appreciate that you want to share the way, but you know, for me, we got to operate within the confines of the law.
I understand.
As much as I hate it. Yeah, sorry we had to cut you off. I really do empathize and understand like the emotions that you're experiencing, but we can only channel it in a direction, in a positive direction. And it will never change my belief about karma. I believe that these people, they do not have positive karma deposits, and everyone has their own relationship with their own intentions and what they try to do. Sometimes our interpretations of other people's intentions are, you know, based upon our own realities as well. And, you know, there are mentally ill people that have these things called narcissism and sociopath. They are real things. And the only thing I can try and do is just, you know, be grateful for, contrast your situation to somebody else's situation. And there are people out there that would be really, really grateful. And it's never the last door. and you can never let someone like that turn this into anything other than a learning experience that can make you better. And you have every right to vent your frustration. I'm not trying to undermine that. But you can't let it disempower you. You gotta channel that energy into something. And we're in this together. And if it makes you feel any better, I spent the last 2 decades of my life studying money, and I still fell for that shit. So, you know, I've been scammed a lot more times than you, a lot more times for a lot more money. And I know maybe percentage wise, but I know what it's like to be scammed when you've got nothing. And you know, so I just want you to know that it's kind of a part of life, but we've got to try and treat these interactions as independent and be cautious. Don't let it happen to you as much as you can. But sometimes life just throws shit at you, and it's what you do, and it's the meaning you give it and the interpretation you give to it that defines you as a human. Okay, let's move on.
I think it's a good time to also mention about what your dad went through as a reminder.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only reason I found Bitcoin is because my father lost all of his money in the stock market in the 2020 boom and bust. He absolutely had nothing. He was brought up with nothing, became a self-made millionaire, worked his ass off to achieve that when no one else would believe in him. And then lost it all gambling in the stock market. Just didn't know where it went. Asked me to figure it out, and that became who I am today, and made me find Bitcoin. And I think you got to find new meaning and try and use it to empower you. And I hope that you do, and I know you will. I've got belief in you.
How are we doing for time, Simon?
I can go on for a bit longer if there's more.
Cool. Yeah, we've got
you.
quite a few people who got their hands up. Let's go with Ryan.
Hi, I've just got some questions for Simon. Mostly, what could we do as creditors if we support Simon's plan to increase the probability that Simon's plan is what the court decides to go with for the Celsius reorg?
Yeah, so part of this process is I'm not actually allowed to solicit for support for a plan. What I will make a commitment to you is that whether it's I will only do that if I think that it's the number one or best approach. You know, if Binance has got a better plan and we can push for us to focus on securities, that, you know, Bank to the Future it's not Binance. We're not a big company. We're a mission-led company, and there may have been reasons, whatever reasons they have, whether they're corrupt or not. You know, but what I will promise to you is I'll always give you what I think is an honest approach, and I'll keep pushing for the optimum outcome, because you got something that you're very lucky to have. I'm a creditor as well, and so the motivation to try and get the best result for myself is also being driven and accelerated by your stories as well. So we're in the same boat.
So are we ever going to get like a vote on the plan? I mean,
yes.
I would think we would be voting on these bids though, but we never even heard about the bids until like they got leaked.
That's true.
Why is it? It shouldn't have been hidden, you know.
I agree, but guess what? They did get leaked, so we get to hold to account. We're in a different world. Like this wouldn't have happened several years back.
And
you know,
also,
got...
Simon, I have quite a few Bitcoin-backed loans with Celsius, and I don't agree at all with a haircut on those. I think you're better off going with an increased interest rate to compromise. And because you could potentially do a lending business in the future that could help fill Earn's hole. But if you haircut the collateral, then that's gone. Not to mention the fact that potentially that principal that you haircut could be a taxable event versus if you
Yeah, so
increase the interest rate, then that's actually a tax write-off. So it's better from our perspective, and it's better from Earn's perspective, because say you're running a business trying to sell cars or whatever. If I just decide I'm not going to send all my customers cars because I have a hole or whatever, then no more customers are going to want to buy cars from me, right? So since lending was a big part of their business, I do believe that they need to make us whole on collateral, and in compromise, there should be a higher interest rate to help out Earn's whole. And I do like your idea about the mining and that type of making the best out of the bad mining situation.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we tried to acquire a lending company so that we would have the licenses in order to be able to do that, and that deal failed. So we don't currently have the licenses to continue a lending business. We specialize in securities, but the companies that are out there that can take on that business, then we're happy to work with. But when we tried to put everything together, we were trying to acquire a company that had those licenses, and it didn't work out.
And
it wasn't meant to be. So.
Could you go into more detail on how the mining token would work? Would that just be like mining dividends for Earn, or would it be like equity in a mining company?
Yeah, so we want to issue equity and do rights issues. So that was our proposal, which is rather than forcing everyone to invest, saying, so like if Celsius is doing a fund, they say, right, all your coins are ours, and we're going to give you some shares, and those shares own the mining company. We were going to take each individual asset and distribute shares, because that's what our platform does and what we can do. And then we were going to do a rights issue where people voluntarily decide if they want to invest in a mining operation based upon full disclosure. And so, yeah, that was how we wanted to do it. Now, there's other ways where we could, we introduced some mining companies to the equation that were I don't know where they're at in the bidding process on the mining side. But there are operators that if there's a competent operator that can turn it into a profit, then you can either, do a contract like where it pays daily dividends based upon the difficulty rate and the set profitability. You've got to get it back to profitability. Or you just simply ride the equity, which is where big money was made in the last bull market. We're not sure whether that can happen again. But I wanted that to be one play of a diversified play, but then the assets started getting sold off. And then it just reached a scenario where the second plan we put together to put together the fund, I think the momentum was lost when it wasn't taken advantage of when the market was ready for that. If the Chapter 11 process is not moving at the pace of the crypto market, and so we're losing opportunity as a result of this, this process not working at the same. Bitfinex was a fast deal. We turned that shit around in 2 weeks. We were done. Everyone was.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've got the lawyers running
months.
this one, so 2 weeks turns into 2 years.
So unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the worst thing that happened was probably that this stuff all happened in the US.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
probably, yeah.
If this happened outside US, then the pace could have been a different pace, maybe.
Yeah, you might be right on that. The last thing I would like to say is that I think we do need to hold them to their deadline on the February 15th, and that the UCC needs to hold them to that. And if they don't, there needs to be some type of shakeup with them at the UCC. So I'll end it at that.
Thank you very much. They're listening.
Okay, let's go with
Simon.
Cam Cruz. Cam Cruz has been waiting. Sorry.
Awesome, thank you. I think a couple speakers ago, unless I misheard, it sounded like there could have been a threat of violence. So I just wanted to reiterate, I think everybody on stage would condemn any kind of violence towards any figure, even people who have wronged us very, very badly. We need to wait for the legal system to run its course. And I personally wish Alex a very long life, hopefully much of it behind bars. I wanted to mention, just in terms of the bankruptcy code, it feels like it's better designed for kind of more traditional corporations. So like if we had a bakery and we were all creditors, like vendors to the bakery. So maybe like if you sent flour to the bakery and they owed you money for that, you're a vendor, and they need to sort through all the people they owe money to. But here we have effectively a bank, which is stranded all its depositors under false pretenses. And like there's so many of us, we don't have FDIC insurance because it's not covered since it was a crypto lending institution. And this process is not well suited to deal with this favorably. And they're essentially, we're pretending like we weren't all defrauded because they want to keep the contracts intact to prevent the equity folks from adding another, $750 million worth of claims and diluting us further. So it's kind of created this bizarre scenario where we're pretending like this company is behaving legitimacy, even though they've never explained how they've been able to pay yield. And it feels like they're intentionally dragging this process out. Like in December, they were talking about how they're getting all these bids. And then just the other day, they're telling us the bids aren't sufficient enough. And we would have been, as you said, none the wiser if it hadn't been for that leak. And I think this really does call into question what the UCC has been doing, right? Because presumably they've been privy to these bids. And there are 7 people on this committee representing tens of thousands of creditors. And it's not acceptable to leave us all in the dark. And the fact that Tiffany was able to show us these bids was, in my mind, a great service to expose what's been going on. A lie, I would agree with you, Simon. It was a lie told by Kirkland & Ellis. We will see if they're held accountable for that. But they were telling us these bids are not acceptable. And we've looked at these bids, and some of them are at least worth entertaining. Obviously, the Galaxy bid was a complete joke. They wanted to pay, I think it was $67 million for over $500 million worth of Ethereum, which was, I was joking with Tony that we should consider throwing out the GK8 sale out of spite after how terrible that bid was. But
is that what it was? I didn't even interpret it right.
It was terrible. Yeah, they're going to pay like a fraction, like pennies on the dollar for all this Ethereum that was staked. So they would basically just take it over.
I'll take that trade.
Yeah, I know. It's like we could all raise money together.
We'll do a crowdfunding on that one.
Yeah. But it feels like that in terms of steering us towards the reorg, they've kind of, the 2 reasons that I recall, the first was that there's not enough crypto to return to creditors, which is true, but it's not a reason that we have to do the reorg. This is something that out of the leak call from Oren and Alex from the fall, out of Oren's mouth, he said there's not enough crypto to return. That's kind of why they need to go on the hero's journey with Kelvin custody. And then just in court the other day, a Kirkland lawyer also said there's not enough crypto to return. That's like a false reason. We know you lost half of our crypto. That's not a reason you need to go on an adventure, a hero's journey with the second half. And then the second reason was because of the hard assets, the Bitcoin mining facility. And that's a situation that they've constructed. It is undeniably a problem, but it's one that they've created. And they were doubling down, building out this facility when their core business was falling apart. So they shouldn't be rewarded with more time for creating a terrible situation for us all. But I mean, I guess just to go back, I think the UCC should look at ways. We know that you've signed confidentiality agreements. You're getting privy to information that could disturb the process if it's leaked. Find a way to anonymize some of this information to share with creditors. Not enough that's going to disturb the bidding process, but enough so that we know what's going on. Because this process has gone on for, 7 months now? And the platform's been closed for 8 months almost? It's just something like, this is not a typical bankruptcy. We're all held hostage. and we need more information. And luckily, there are avenues for the information to get out if the UCC is not capable of doing the job themselves. But again, the more information that can be shared, I think the better for everybody, so we can orient ourselves and prepare for whatever's happening.
Thanks a lot for that, Cam. On the Chapter 11 isn't appropriate for this type of business, I tend to agree with you that we're in a unique situation, because you won't find another situation where the regulators allowed an illegal bank to get this big, and they don't have the they don't have the licenses to own our money, and the judge made it where the judge kind of figured out that that's the best result. And then we entered into a situation where they ignored that that's completely illegal because it may harm creditors. I don't think that ever happens again. And there's a reason why there's proper, unwind processes for banks and brokers, because they've been through all this shit before in the past. But yeah, unfortunately, we are the guinea pigs, and I don't think the regulators can ever allow a bank to get this far, or an illegal hedge funds that, I mean, clearly they let it get to like $20-30 billion without shutting it down. I mean, the states were cease and desist, but the SEC were just trying to get their cut, it seems. Anyway.
Simon?
Hey.
Can you hear me? Hey.
Yeah, you've been patiently
waiting. I want to say, oh, my friend, I got to tell you, Simon, you have your step back. You're yourself again. This releasing by Tiffany was a blessing, and you have everybody's support. What I think Cam and the rest of us find so difficult is the two people that are paid, I believe, on the UCC, the rest of them that are not paid, and allowing this charade to continue. You're right. Everything is unprecedented. The courts aren't set up to deal with our coins. They don't understand. This judge is a fair judge. My friends who have prosecuted against for federal, they worked in his courts. They say he's a fair judge. And I stress to you, however bizarre this may sound to you, some of the brightest minds in this country, America, have told me the only way to deal with this Chapter 11, they're going to be granted, and I apologize for ranting, Simon, I apologize profusely, is to stop them in their tracks. And I know you don't like what I'm saying. Most people don't. We need to turn this around once they grant this extension, if they grant this extension after the examiner's report. And the only way I believe is what I've been ranting on with you, and I'll end it there. Anyway, Simon, thank you for everything, your energy, your voice, your tone, your back. I was losing you. You were defeated. And now you're back where you started when I became aware of the capabilities of Bank to the Future and Simon Dixon. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the comments. Thank you. Who's next?
Let's bring on Ruppy.
Yeah, and I do want to echo Cam's, violence ain't going to get us anywhere. That's just going to get you in prison. So let's use the system.
I think
yep,
we got
second
Ruppy.
that as well. Yep. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, Lawrence, you kept on going there with some good passion. I loved it, and I really thought I was going to hear, it's just time to liquidate. And but I didn't, so I'll say it for you, though. I didn't know if that's where you were going. But out of seriousness, I really just, Thomas, Scott, please read the room. Nobody wants this to go past that February 14th deadline. We all want it to just take over. Whatever your plan was, it doesn't matter. Just take over. Get it out of the debtor's hands, and let's get an end to this. If it was liquidation, then so be it. I believe most people in this room would be happy with 50% back. And depending on what their USD denominated assets are, Simon, you were part of the data room. My guess, is we should have half of that at least in a liquidation trust. that we should be able to get quarterly checks. And what I mean by half is retail loans, 400 million, equities first, 350 million, and institutions roughly 50 million, because who knows exactly what the breakup is besides David Adler, but we do know FTX and Alameda were part of it. So let's just say we're getting 50 back. So that's 800 million out of that USD denominated debt that we should be able to put into a trust that should not be expensive in fees to manage for, I don't even know, 5-7 years, however long it's going to be. And that's it. That's really, I wanted to get that out there. I wanted to let you guys know. Simon, I didn't really have a question for you. I saw them in the room, and, you know, hopefully they have an impact. And, but Simon, happy Friday to you. Thank you for doing another Spaces. Always appreciate it. Keeping us informed as best as possible.
Okay, appreciate you. And I do agree that simplifying the process to optimize for people getting what's left, you know, their coins back, if it means let's figure out all the illiquid stuff later, but just get, if Binance is willing to distribute and we can get through this process. But then again, actually watch the Voyager case. It's a painful process as well. So if you get a chance to listen to the Voyager town hall, here's what I suggest actually. Listen to the last Voyager town hall. And the pain in some of these other cases is actually, like, I was, it was painful to listen to. And so, you know, just trying to get that distribution through a company like Binance when regulators are saying, yeah, but if you're in New York, you've got to apply for a New York license. And then, in fact, this is a really serious consideration. If Binance ends up like distributing, and you're in a state where they don't have a money transmitter and the amount is significant in your life, I'd actually consider moving states to a state that's supported, so that you can get your funds without this 6 months wait and potentially, you know, ending in a liquidation or something like that. I know that's a crazy idea, but if you are in a situation where you're in a state that whoever ends up distributing doesn't have a license and this amount of money is significant to you, just rent another agreement and and go to a state where it's supported. Because in Voyager, they've got to wait while Binance applies for the license. And then if they don't achieve it within 6 months, they're just liquidated to dollars. Sucks.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
totally get that. And Voyager is definitely one that I've been following, actually retweeting stuff because they're a little ahead of us in their timeline and doing some things that could really affect us. And you're absolutely right about the 4 states. I'm not recommending anybody to move to a state. Basically, the rule is that they have is 6 months for Binance to get the money transmitter licenses. If they don't have it, the assets are no matter what with Voyager until they get those MTLs. And then if they get them, assets transfer over. If they don't get them, then that's when they'll liquidate them and basically send you a check. But yeah, no, I'm following Voyager wholeheartedly. It's the reason why I believe in my liquidation case, that I know exactly how everything should be distributed. And you know, again, Thomas, Scott, read a room. You know, we want this to finish. I'm not even sure how the plan is for most people. I'm a large creditor. I'm not really going to accept somebody forcing some debt tokens down my throat. Something that, you know, definitely doesn't settle well. And let's just try to get something finished come Valentine's Day, and don't break our heart.
yeah. And I really echo, the proposal has to be people get what funds are left back. And then if we want to invest them into a fund, it just has to be voluntary. But any proposal where people are forced to not get their coins back and they end up with something else, I mean, it's just not going to get vote. And knowing that, then I think it's a bad actor strategy where Celsius are trying to put through something they know won't get a vote, and therefore they're going for the outcome of what happens after not getting a vote. We've got to think of the game theory a little bit further. I'm kind of too in the what happens next rather than what happens. We got to play a game of chess here. We've got to think about what's happening 7 moves, because Kirkland and Ellis certainly are.
And that's why I say, let's just straight liquidate that. We don't need to be paying for any more moves. But anyway, thank you for the time, Simon. Appreciate it. Everybody have an awesome weekend. And I'm sure we'll talk later.
Thank you.
Let's bring on Joey.
Hey guys, thanks so much for these AMAs. They always offer so much knowledge and insight into things that I think a lot of us are learning and getting edified from. So thank you so much for putting this on. I stayed up one night till like 2 a.m. and looked through all of the, published examples of lies and all the different flavors of fraud, and just to try to understand what I had put myself into and how I had missed, and ended up creating that document that I put out on Twitter for the claims, where we can file evidential fraud as part of that Stretto claim process. And it was wild to see it downloaded like 500 times. So Simon, thanks for sharing that out. And
wow. So what if people follow you on Twitter, they can find an example of something to upload to the claim form? Yeah,
exactly. And actually, if they follow you, they can download it too. I think the followers benefit probably your life more than mine. So you actually shared the post. Appreciate that. And it was just cool to see that 500 people got that evidential PDF file. And then
nice, good work, well done.
Well, so, and that's in terms of game theory. Do you ever see this situation right now, this extension after extension? Is Mashinsky influencing? Is he trying to play the time game so that he doesn't have to deal with all the fraud lawsuits? Because if BTC goes up in value and we have that dollar value, USD value associated with our claim, if it goes up to 40,000, did he really commit fraud? And I wonder if there's a time game here that he's trying to push out so he doesn't have to answer to all these fraud claims, which would obviously throw him in jail and potentially even ruin his own, amassing of wealth. Because if we all kind of pick him apart after he goes to jail, we actually might recover a lot of our funds. But again, if BTC goes up to a certain 40,000, 60,000 level and this thing isn't resolved, maybe they can pay out a lot of this in USD and say, well, we never committed fraud. We paid people out, and, kind of sweep this under the rug a bit. I mean, it's quite the theory, but I just wonder how that, in terms of game theory, if lawsuits will end up recovering some of these funds from Mashinsky himself, and if he's trying to push that timeline out.
Yeah, nothing surprises me. So it's a theory, and yeah, I think nothing's off the table in terms of what people will do when they're facing financial ruin or freedom, especially when you don't have a degree of empathy and beyond. Yeah, no idea. It's an interesting theory. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's bring on Stephen Ivan again.
Okay, I'll be very quick. Thank you for letting me come up here one more time. And only for entertainment, strictly for entertainment, because I think someone came up and offered something entertaining. I didn't really get the humor, but I apologize in advance for any lawyers in the room.
Where is this going? You've made me seriously nervous. What are you setting us up for?
This is only a joke. It's actually a riddle, but I mean, we know, like, with all the Twitter files that have been dropped in recent weeks and months, I mean, corruption is like everywhere. We all know that. And we're trying our best to get our investments back. But my question is, if you don't want me to answer it, I won't. The basic riddle is, what's the difference between a lawyer and a rooster? That's the riddle.
Anyway,
and the first part says, a rooster clucks defiance. Shall I go on?
Go for it.
Okay, I do not like to use profanity in public places. So the rooster clucks defiance.
If you're easily offended by profanity, you can stop now.
A lawyer fucks the clients. It seems like that's what's happening right now. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I thought this was going down a very dark place. That's okay. I can
No,
handle that.
I don't go down dark places. Okay, no, it was only for you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I got another 15 minutes if anyone wants to cover anything.
Okay, let's bring on Tim.
Hey guys, how you doing? Simon, I just have one quick question and then one quick hypothetical. Coins that were held in collateral that may have been an earn before they were used in collateral, do you believe that those coins are actual collateral now, or they still earn?
Hey, can you bring Tony up? I'm gonna bail out to Tony. He knows this so well.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah, Tony, can you come up and answer that question?
It may have been something that had been touched on in other AMA. I've been trying to ask that in the last couple of AMAs. I just haven't had a chance to break through.
Zod, I think he's sharing as requested. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that one's actually probably for Ronan.
Is Ronan here?
Let me send him a message.
Yeah, Ronan, man. He's like not showing up at the spaces anymore. I'm deeply offended.
He's we have him working pretty hard in the backgrounds for the loan group. So he's busy.
for the sale ad hoc.
Yes, for that too. Yes.
Cool. Let's take another question while we're waiting.
Okay, let's bring on Thomas.
You there, Thomas?
Okay, let's try Phil.
You there, Phil?
Hello, this is Thomas. Can you hear me?
Hey, Thomas, we can hear you.
Well, great, you guys. Blessings to everybody. Sure is a hard time we're going through. I appreciate everyone being strong and being smart. And really, all I have to say is I wanted to implore Alex Mashinsky to really, I hate to use old language, but to repent. This idea that he's going to be able to stash all this money away and go and have a good life, it's really a stain on his family and his future to come. I mean, we really don't live as long as we think, and justice will be served. So, I wish him nothing wrong. I've lost a lot of money, as other people have, but we have to come to the truth in our life, man. That's really the only thing that we're here for, in my opinion. And I just think he could make things right for all of us. And he has to come to a point of repentance. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I screwed up and I hurt a lot of people and I'm sorry. And until that happens, nothing good could ever happen for him. I don't care how much money he has. So blessings to everybody. And I hope we can get as much money back as we can.
Thank you.
Right. Sure.
Let me have a stab at the question. Oh, I'm echoing. I'm not sure if Ronan's going to come up. What was the question again?
Simon, it was if coins were in earn previous to the bankruptcy, if coins that were in earn were moved to collateral, say Bitcoin, for instance, in this instance,
there was never a classification for collateral, right? It was just locked. Would you say it's locked coins in earn, or did it? I guess it had its own classification.
Oh, I believe it had its own classifications.
They were rehypothecating, so it wasn't in custody, so they would have been using it. So
okay, so they've been using it. Okay, so technically, so those coins were not in earn then. So if any coins that were actually used for collateral on a Bitcoin loan would still be in loans. They would not be in earn currently.
The original business model was, they're using any money, and there was no such concept as collateral.
Okay.
Collateral was a regulatory defense mode when they were told they were selling illegal securities.
Okay.
And then they moved it over to withhold when they were told they're not licensed to offer custody services.
Okay. So
yeah.
when I took the loans, so when loans were taken out,
are you a non-accredited US investor? Did you accredit yourself or are you non-accredited?
Non-accredited.
Okay, so non-accredited would have been moved over to custody, I believe.
Okay.
So I actually asked that question to Ronan one time. I don't remember the reason, but the answer is that it's technically earned according to the terms of service. I don't remember why or what the rationale was that he gave me based on the contract. So you're just gonna have to trust me, bro.
Okay, so most of the so basically that's got to cover quite a few people. Then in the loans category, that's going to cover
everybody.
Probably more than 50% or everyone.
Yeah. So every loan, regardless of where the collateral came from, even if it came from custody or earn or whatever, when you take out the loan, they rehypothecate it. So technically, it goes to the estate while it's being rehypothecated.
So the only real benefit to the fact that the loan was taken out is the people that actually put money into the loan actually got money out of it. and the coins are still stashed, but at least you got cash, but you still owe the money back for the collateral. I just don't understand how they're going to work that where, say 5 Bitcoins are being held in you've received, I don't know, say 50, 60K for those 5 Bitcoin, however the money is calculated out. I just don't understand how they're going to, are they going to, if they gave you back your coins, are they going to say pay up on your loan or, or are they going to say, hey, you owe us 50, 60K, you have 5 Bitcoin, we'll give you a little haircut. I'm so confused on how that's going to work, but I guess I'll just have to wait.
Cam's messaging me. He's got an answer. Do you want to just bring Cam up quickly, Azad?
That'd be great. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Cam has to request. Cam, can you request and I'll bring you up?
Invite to speak. I just clicked on him. Cool. You got an answer to that one, Cam?
Yeah, I'd heard an explanation for this where once a loan was paid off, they returned collateral to the origin account type. So that's the explanation I've heard, and everything wasn't earned typically, prior to custody existing 89 days before the bankruptcy. This was from Manny Herman's case where he had a loan that was paid off and his collateral wound up in an earned account. And I think the explanation, I'm just recalling, hope I'm not revealing anything that he didn't want me to reveal, but I think the explanation that he was able to arrive at is that it was returned to his origin account. And he might have heard that through a customer service agent or something. So they might have gotten it wrong, but that was at least an explanation that was proffered for that scenario.
Okay, so any coins that are in custody of Celsius right now as collateral are basically just an earn, and there's no real difference in having them in a loan versus having them in a regular earn account.
I mean, contractually, there probably should have been a difference, but in terms of how they treated it, they would still do all the rehypothecation as if it was an earn account. So they didn't treat the collateral any more securely than a typical earn funds.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, it's still in the same pot as everybody else's. There's no difference in layman's terms, basically.
Yeah, they don't really have an answer. They're not really sure. Adler's fighting it. Obviously, he's trying to get the loan book sold off so that we don't have to fix these problems.
Oh, that's so great.
Obviously, that's been met with a lot of resistance, just like everything else. But they don't have an answer. The reality is, we don't know. Collateral should be treated like collateral, but the terms of service state that it goes into earned. So there is a little bit of wiggle room there. It's like up in the air still.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna have to jump off now, everybody. One thing I'll Azad, do you mind me revealing who you're a creditor of, or do you want to keep that secret?
No, go ahead.
So Azad is a creditor in BlockFi, and this will make you feel better slightly. Adler's involved in the BlockFi case, but just before the bankruptcy, apparently they sold all the cryptos, so there's no crypto left at the bottom, at what appears like the bottom of the market. So there's no crypto gains that can be achieved from the whole BlockFi situation, which again is a bit of a silly thing, because the whole dollarization of the debt is a bit of a scam anyway. So I think Cam was the first one to point this out, that they're marking the gains from our crypto going up in price as revenue to say that they're profitable, while keeping the liabilities marked to market, not marked to market, so they're not marking up. Is that correct, Cam?
Yep, that's correct. I was just disapproving of them doing it, not saying you were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right,
I
everybody.
wonder if there's one thing I can say to Simon before he steps off, and to any of the UCC that are listening. So I've been listening to you, Simon, since all this started to go down 6 months ago or so, and I've been immensely appreciative of your integrity and your transparency and the depth of your ideas. And as a creditor, this is a U.S. creditor, non-secured. I have looked at these different offers, and I've looked at what Celsius is trying to rebrand right now. And there's just no way that I would believe in sticking with something that Celsius is trying to redo. And I think the majority of creditors feel that way. If anyone has been listening to your ideas, the ways that, this could actually work out to be made whole again, especially 3 or 4 months ago, I wish they would have acted sooner. They make sense, and it becomes a company type thing that, new company type thing that we can believe in and stick with. I just don't see how anyone sticks with.
Oh, did he cut off? Was that just me?
UCC cut him off.
All right. Okay. I think we got your point. I'll tell you what. I'll end on. I will make a commitment to remain open-minded to whatever is thrown. In terms of, you know how skeptical I am. But I've given my best content today on how to structure a security token from all the
And by the
ones that
way,
I've invested in.
I'm not paid or anything else for this. I just have a lot of integrity and want to, just share that in terms of my trust in you and my appreciation for you in a very difficult, dark time.
Okay, well, that really helps, and actually, I've made some great friends in this community, and I can't wait to see what we all do beyond this Chapter 11 case. And I think we all have shared a crazy journey, so I really appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I'm going to have to call this one off. So I'll end the way that I do. It's such an emotional one. It seems a bit weird doing my normal closing, but hey, that's what I got to do. Always remember, you're alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. We will push, and if those deadlines do get extended, we're going to do all we can to make sure that we don't get wrecked and we end up on the right side of this. And of course, there were a few messages. We don't condone any violence. We're doing it with peace. We're doing it with love. We're doing it with unity. We're doing it with integrity. And we will get to the other side of this. Thank you, everybody. Over and out.